When shadows fall and spirits howl, zombies stalk and madmen prowl, monsters lurk and victims shiver. Thrills and chills they will deliver. Arise from your graves and get in the mood. It's time to join the Spooky Dudes.
What's up, my dudes? Thanks for coming back to check out part 2 of Nigel, Bach, and myself covering the COVID pandemic slasher flick, Sick. Hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you think of the new format for the show in the comments below. We will have film reviews from time to time, but it's usually going to be interviews with independent creators and things of that sort. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much, and stay spooky, my dudes.
So then they wind up. How I know the mother gets thrown out the window. How's the other dude wind up biting it?
So the dad, they get in a fight, and they get upstairs somehow, and she kicks him over or pushes him over a railing, and remember earlier that there's
right,
a rack.
The antlers from the moose or the deer or whatever.
DJ could have just absolutely whacked that guy on the floor or left him alone. He could have stabbed him. You know, that's like the complaint about slasher movies. It's like always double tap the killer, you know, and then you don't have to worry about them coming after you again, right? But for whatever reason, those antlers are sitting on the floor, and the dad gets double impaled. Yeah,
it was horrible,
pretty gnarly.
But so I liked the film. I mean, I watched the second time I watched it prior to coming on here, so I sounded smart. It wasn't like, oh, here's this scene. It was good. I liked it both times. I would recommend it to anybody, especially if you've got Peacock. It's free.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed it. I didn't give it. I did on my Letterboxd. I try to review everything on Letterboxd now, so I remember what I've watched and what I haven't. I didn't give it 5 stars. I gave it like 4.5, maybe. It was good.
Well, you know, I normally reserve max ratings. I usually reserve that because it's kind of like the golden buzzer on America's Got Talent for somebody to be like perfect. For instance, one of the films I thought that is on the hat you're wearing, Jaws, I thought was just a great from beginning to end.
Oh, yeah.
But like this film, the couple things like how'd the guy get out to the floating dock? How'd she move the floating dock with this oar? How, a couple things. But, I mean, the funny thing is on the micro budget films I do, I will explain something that I know will have a continuity issue in the film. I'll say it outright. So if somebody says, oh, you did this, you did that. I said, but I said in the film, and they're like, oh yeah, well, that's bull. But anyway, that's being like, that's like nitpicking because the film was good. I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. Did you like the fire stunt at the end? That went on forever with the mom.
Oh, yeah. I saw 2 things with it. There's a new series on Showtime. Actually, it might not be new. It's about a guy, not to get off track, but he's got a daughter that's a vampire. She's a little girl that's living like with him. And I watched that last night, and there was a fire scene in that. But yes, she was able to run like for a half an hour while fully engulfed in flames. Before finally going down.
It's very dangerous. You got to be careful with that. But it was impressively long. It was also like kind of beautiful with the sunrise and I don't always love to see police officers pulling up, but I'm sure those 2 survivors were thrilled to see the cops coming.
I'm just curious what got the cops there.
Well, she she took the laptop at one point and tried to call 911 with it. I don't know why that was going to work, but then she sent a message to her dad, and I guess it went through just before this. Okay,
before they pulled the router off.
Yeah, here's a nitpick thing. How's that guy know? He's just like, he has that exact router at home, and he knows that exact light pattern. He's like, oh, someone's on the Wi-Fi. I was like, how do you know that that's a Wi-Fi device? Like,
well, because he was currently sent home from work at Google.
Okay,
and,
that's
due
it.
to the quarantine, he had to work from home, so he was familiar with how computers work.
He is an IT professional. I had no idea.
See?
I don't think there's any other names in this movie that are.
Well, he's familiar too. That guy that played the father.
Jason Menchaca.
He's been in other horror stuff, I want to say.
Ozark. He's in Ozark. That's what I know him from.
That's right. He was the father or something in Ozark, or the uncle.
Russ Langmore.
Yeah, is
that the rednecky?
The family that lived in the what do you call them? Not mobile homes, but the trailers on the lake on the Ozarks.
He's also in Curb Your Enthusiasm as Klansman Joe. I've never seen Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, dude, it is hysterical, and there is nothing off limits to what they won't talk about. I mean, they say stuff like they address racism head on, gay, lesbian, whatever. Larry David, basically Larry David is George Costanza. That's who the character was based on. So you can imagine the bizarre stuff, if you ever watch Seinfeld, that George would say and do.
Yeah.
That's who Larry David is. But the star of that entire show, if you ask me, is J.B. Smoove.
I love J.B. Smoove.
Oh, the guy is just nothing but laughs. Every scene he's in, he steals in that show. And the whole way he got in the show was about 5 seasons along. This thing's going on 12 seasons now. About 5-6 seasons along. It was right after Hurricane Katrina happened.
Mm-hmm.
And Larry and his wife decides to take in a family that was displaced by Katrina. And JB comes there, and he's there with his sister, his mother, and their daughter, his sister's daughter, his niece. And they all wind up going back to New Orleans. But JB just stays there living with Larry because Larry likes having him around. So that they just keep him in the show from then on. But that's kind of like way off of a horror, the talking of a scary movie here. But yeah.
I did find another horror film I watched that has, I just forgot his name. That guy, Mark Menchaca. No One Gets Out Alive from 2021. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. What was I watched that because Holly is like the search button on a Roku device. You can put in anything and she knows it. And she will tell me, oh, that one was this, blah, 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 blah. And she'll know it all the time. But what was No One Gets Out Alive?
The girl, this girl takes a room in a boarding house.
That's right. We just watched that like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Creepy stuff starts happening.
Yeah.
She's like, I think she's from out of the country or something. She's trying to, get on her feet.
The Bride of Frankencon VIP tickets are available now with 30-minute early access to vendor hall, custom swag bag, custom lanyard, 10% off online store, and 4 VIP activities to die for. VIP activities like Cannibal Holocaust, The True Story with actor Carl York. Dig deep into one of the most disturbing movies of all time and get the true story from the man that lived it. As well as a live commentary of the Grindhouse classic Frankenhooker with actress Patty Mullen, hosted by Rants at the Black Lodge podcast. And it's a deep dive into the mind of James O'Barr, the creator of The Crow. Find out what makes this dark superhero tick. And last but not least, it's a live screening of Sleepaway Camp. Join actress Felissa Rose and the guys from the YouTube show We Watched a Movie as they provide live commentary to this classic, unforgettable horror movie. Get your VIP tickets now at frankencontn.com with all these perks. What are you waiting for?
Speaking of like getting rooms, did you see Barbarian?
Oh yeah.
Did you see the article the director of that film wrote about me?
Zach Kreger, yeah, he called you out, man.
He called me a king. He said that that Bad Ben, like I'm going down. I don't know why people are tweeting me this article, and because he talks about the 5 movies that influenced him, and while I'm reading down, he says Bad Ben, and he talks about the suspense created in the basement. Now I got to tell you, it's the biggest compliment I ever got, but I also am a little surprised that because some people say they see the correlation. I don't. I just wonder if I have a family member that sent him a big check or something, because that was a very nice compliment, but he said it influenced him.
Well, that's the thing about like people that are truly like really into movies. Like they'll watch the indie stuff, the big stuff. I mean, everything. And he just seems like he really likes movies. Like, so I'm not shocked that he found it. I mean, Bad Ben's got a great cult following. I mean,
well, the minutes show it's been streamed over 200 million minutes. So you got to figure on the average film is 90 minutes a pop. 90 million minutes would mean my films have been watched 1 million times, if I did the math there right. So whether it's whether it's 100,000 people watching all 9 gets you to 90 million, and then double that would be like 2 million people. My film's been seen by somewhere between 200,000 people and 2 million people, which, based on 6 degrees of separation. Funny thing is, I've only ever been recognized twice, ever, with the exception of being at FrankenCon, because, it's advertised I'm there and people come that are fans of the horror and all, but they come from all over. But like in my own neighborhood where this has been filmed, I've only ever been recognized twice. And they were both times, by the way, in Bad or Ben, I went into a cigar store, was Pete's cigar store. And Pete instantly got recognized. Pete's been recognized like 10, 15 times. People come, oh, I saw that movie you're in. I saw that movie you're in. I saw that movie in. And one day I'm standing at Pete's. It was December, like 3 years ago. It was before the pandemic. So it was probably like 3.5 years ago. Guy pulls up in his car, and it's because it's still dark out. It's 7 o'clock. He opens at 7. So it had to be like December. So I swing open the door. I say, here, this is a new service at Pete's, door service. And the guy says, I saw your TV show. And I said, the movie? He goes, yeah. So that was the first time. And then Pete tells me one of his other customers that come in says he's seen the film with Pete in it. And he says, well, that guy comes in here and buys cigars. And so Pete calls me one day and says, hey, can you come down here? Somebody wants to meet you.
Just, if you're not doing anything, come on down.
Well, I've had people pull in the driveway too. But,
that's
stop
still,
by and take a picture of the house.
I'm way too paranoid to be okay with that, honestly.
Well, if you actually, most people do know the layout of this house from all the films.
Sure.
But if you're coming in this house, you better come like with, it's not easy to get in here, and it's not easy to succeed in getting. First of all, there are motion detectors out there everywhere, cameras, stuff like that. Plus, I'm packing heat. Corey, I brought a weapon with me tonight in case you pulled some crap. I'd blow no, but No, it's yeah, we're well protected here. In the back of the house, it's all poured concrete, this basement. So the back of the house is actually the entranceways to the second floor. And it's just people aren't coming in this house unless I know they're coming in.
And I imagine most people, I mean, you always hear these stories about these crazy like stalker types, but it's like such a minute thing, you know. There's most people are just like, oh, cool, that's the house.
Well, the thing is, the only danger is that I walk out there to meet these people when the motion sensors go off and let me know they're here. That's probably when I could take a bullet.
Y'all leave Nigel alone.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I go out there and I usually am carrying mace in one pocket. And the problem is anybody that ever saw a gun I own would still see the price tag on it because I've never fired it. But no, everybody that's ever come by here has been awesome. There was this one family that came here and they had there were 5 of them, or no, there was 8 of them. They were in 2 different cars. I was having the porch enclosed with screens. And the reason I did that was I got 3 rescue pets. All 3 of them were runners. And I wanted to make sure if ever the front door was open that they couldn't get out and run because it is a busy street.
Yeah.
So the front porch is being enclosed. The guy asked me, so what do you do for work? He probably asked me that because for like every day I'm sitting there while he's doing the porch. And I was wondering why I'm not going to work. And I told him about making these films. And I said, in fact, you see that car? How they slowed down? He said, yeah. I said, they're fans of the movie. He says, get the heck out of here. And I said, they'll be back. And because you could tell when they drive by and they're like looking out their window, like,
is that it? Yeah.
And so they came back. And this was the coolest family. There were 8 of them in 2 cars. They all had handmade Bad Ben shirts on.
Oh,
and
that's
they
awesome.
had like Bad Ben. And their baby had a they had like a toddler, had a shirt on that said, Good Ben. It was the cutest thing in the world.
That's awesome.
And I usually keep something around to give away, like when people stop. Right now, I'm kind of, I still got posters, but I had a mystery machine, a Scooby-Doo mystery machine van that I got at Walmart. And because I do giveaways only, actually, this is what this setup is still from. I did giveaways the other night, but I had one of them and he had a blast with it. But I really do enjoy the people that stop by. But so on this show, do we give thumbs up when we like a movie or something?
Just the recommend to watch or recommend to watch, who should watch, and then a double feature if you can propose another movie that you think would go well with it.
Well, well, like you just filled me in on the fact that the same writer that did Scream did this.
And I know what you did last summer and Dawson's Creek.
But if you like, I can see where Dawson's Creek fits in there. But if you like Scream, I think you'll like this film. It's just Scream had some like yuck in it, some jokes in it and stuff and laughter. This doesn't have that. This is very serious. The whole thing. There is no, while there is no sequel potential here, in reality, if they really wanted to do it, the studio could say, hey, let's have somebody else who lost a family member that got sick at that party, have a family member that's going crazy, hunting them down. They could do it all over again. But and you said something to go with this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Pavlax? Isn't that the treatment for COVID? No. Oh, you mean another movie.
Yeah.
Another movie that's out there right now. Well, that film you talked about, Last One Out.
Oh,
No One Gets Out Alive.
No One Gets Out Alive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's got some similar traits. What about you? What do you say?
I think, I definitely recommend watching it. I think this movie's fine for like, what we call a normie or like a hardcore horror enthusiast, you know.
Slasher film fan.
Yeah, I think about anybody can like sit and enjoy this, like, unless I could see the one thing bothering people might be like, you know, we've lived through COVID for like 3 years. I'm kind of sick of, you know, COVID stuff, because it is a very heavy, you know, part of the plot of the film. So that's maybe the only thing that would bother people that I can think of, aside from the weird peccadillos we had with, you know, conceits that you have to get over for slasher films. Yeah, Scream is really good with it. I think it's a good pick for a double feature. I was trying to think of something else that's not right on the nose of Scream, though. Scream 2? No. I just think it has a similar tone. Like that cold opening is so much like this movie.
Well, it's immediately what I thought about when I saw this film. I said, this is, you know, it hits the ground running. And and the thing about it is, from that first, when I say it hits the ground running to the next like scene of slashing and all, is not that long. No. It's not like it sits there. It's excellently paced. There's you know, you have to suspend reality was the term I was looking for earlier with some things. But what film don't you have to do that with? I mean, I hate to tell you this, as far as I know, there's no Darth Vader out there. So you have to like suspend reality with that too, although that whole film is based on sci-fi fantasy. But in this case, you know, you can see people that are crazy, like those people were that were coming after her. They were doing, I don't know that you'd call that vigilante justice, because she actually wasn't a bad person intentionally doing what happened. She was careless and she spread the virus. But, you know, when you say some people could get bothered by that, even though it was a big part of the plot, it wasn't front and center in your face. I mean, you got to put a mask on, that type of stuff. But we did live through that. Yeah. So, but it wasn't like somebody there coughing, suffering from it and all. Like, I could see some films that are about this past 3 years of our life. 3 years.
You know, and I think like how that was handled was, it was sort of like, is the people that were like, these people were insane enough to kill people, multiple people, because of people not wearing masks and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not satire, but it's like this amped up, you know, I mean, I know people that would say things like that, but I don't know anybody that would actually go kill somebody. Like, I'm gonna kill you if you wear a mask.
Look, let's compare it to real life. There were people killed over the chicken sandwich at Popeyes. That actually happened. When the chicken sandwich first came out, there was a run on them. People couldn't get them. There was a person murdered over a chicken sandwich at Popeyes. So, yeah. But, you know, there are people out there that are nuts. They have somebody in their family that dies as a result of something. But, you know, to sit there, you can't. The stretch here is that, do you go after this one girl? Because how do you know she's the reason he got COVID? How do you know he didn't give it to her? You know what I'm saying? So anyway,
there's a conceit there.
They were looking for somebody to pay, and that's what they did. Look, if I go over here, it looks like I got a tattoo with spooky dudes on my forehead. I don't know if that's the same on your monitor.
It is.
My head is big enough for a billboard. Oh, that's disgusting.
There we go. Hey, that's
Nigel Bach is now accepting sponsors for his next film. I will put your name on my forehead for right now. I need about $16,000. So that's another story for another time.
I will give a non-slasher pick to go with this, A Quiet Place, because if this movie is pre-apocalypse, that movie can be the sequel. Though did you see the sequel though?
I like the sequel.
I hated it, man.
You know they're making a prequel.
I mean, I'm fine with that, but the second one just felt so. It cheapened the first one to me. I don't know. It bothered me.
What was? Oh, you know what? Can I make a suggestion too?
Yeah.
This has been out a little while, but if nobody's seen it, I've seen it twice. And the first time, sorry for turning around here, I just damn near brought down the entire studio. Now I heard about that trailer dropping. I haven't seen it yet, but
I haven't either. I
watched last week again. I have a habit of when I'm sitting there watching a movie, I'm like this half the time.
Yeah.
Seeing what's going on because there's so much, just I get so many emails a day, but I watched Hereditary again. And I watched it and I remembered the beginning of the film where the car, well, that's not actually the beginning. That happens a little along the way. But how the little girl dies. And then I'm watching it and I actually didn't pick up my phone. I watched the whole thing. I'm like, I can't remember watching this film. Like so many of these parts. But that was a really creepy film, that whole thing.
I love that, dude. I'm a big fan of that movie. My wife didn't like it. My sister, the spooky sister, didn't like it. I thought it was super.
I will tell you that that what's her name? Vigera Pharma or something?
Vera Farmiga, yeah.
Holly will tell you I'm terrible with names. But I like her and everything she does, but also and in the films where they always have Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh, The Conjuring.
Right. That series. I didn't like the last one, The Devil Made Me Do It. However, I will tell you that I would watch if they wound up making a film 60 of that with those two characters playing Ed and Lorraine Warren. It's just and those two characters that play them are both great.
Well, I think everybody loves them as those characters, as those people, but like nobody, everything I hear about the real people is like super bad. Like they were just swindlers and
they might have been, but actually isn't that Vera Farmiga or whatever you said? Who was the woman in Hereditary?
That is,
that wasn't, I said,
no.
That Vera Farmiga was in, she's the one from The Conjurings.
Yeah.
I was confusing her.
Toni Collette. Toni Collette's
right, Toni Collette. Did you ever see the series she was in on Showtime called The United States of Terror?
No. Is it good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It kind of ended abruptly in like the second or third season, but she had multiple personalities. And actually, Captain Marvel, what's her name? Brie
Larson. Yeah.
Brie Larson was in that. It's the first thing I ever saw her in. She played her daughter.
I haven't watched it. I'm so behind on shows. Like I watch a lot of movies, but
the thing that's killer anymore too is I remember as a kid, I'm 57 years old. I remember as a kid, we had 11 channels and one of them was PBS, which I never watched, like Sesame Street or any of that stuff. Yeah. But so there was like basically 10 channels to choose from. And we constantly had something to watch. And we couldn't wait until they came out with we were so excited when they came out with VCRs because you could record 2 channels and you wouldn't have to choose for stuff. And now there are hundreds of stations. Let me tell you, today it was announced just an hour before it came on air with you. Our local Regal Theater is closing. And they're closing something like they have like 3,000, but they're closing like 60 theaters, and that's closing. And to be honest with you, I don't know, except for those that are nostalgic, I don't know if movie theaters are going to exist in a decade because First of
Yeah.
all, this is going back. I saw Prometheus at an IMAX theater in Atlantic City, and that was 15 years ago, I guess I saw that. And back then, I took a guy that worked for me, and I went. And by time we got out of there, spent $100. Now I'm imagining a family, not even IMAX today, a family. If you have 2 children, a spouse, and yourself, and you want to take the family out to a movie, you know the kids are going to want popcorn. They're going to want candy, half of which they won't eat, but they'll sit there. They got to have something to drink. These people are dropping $100 for a family of 4 to go to a film nowadays. And you got to figure at the average price of streaming channels now, that's 10 streaming channels almost you could have for that month. And like when you're sitting in your house, if you got to stop to go use the bathroom, or you just, you don't like a film, you switch on something else. But just to sit there and watch in the comfort of your home today, the only films I used to really get enjoyment out of being in a theater with were comedies, because to be in there when other people are laughing and you're laughing was great. But there was always somebody rude. I mean, in the past, since mobile phones became popular, someone's always looking at their phone or something like that. And it's not a great environment. They're dirty half the time. But anyway, what I think's happening is I think movie theaters are going, and I also think there's too many streaming channels. I mean, I obviously have started one, but it's basically all my content, all my material. There are other ones that are out there that just like you can see the same stuff on Netflix that you see on Amazon Prime, except for their original material. And there's just too many. And that is why, like in my case, where I went from making 15 cents an hour streamed for my movie to making a penny an hour streamed, that's a 1,500% cut if I did my math right. Yeah, I went through that. It's because Amazon was paying too much out to indie producers who had stuff on their platform. And there's just so many now between Tubi, and I mean, I used to go, and I'm talking as recently as 2 years ago, I would go to Vudu. Yeah. You familiar with that channel?
Oh, yeah, I like Vudu a lot.
And I could see any new release, and I could pick it to rent or buy. And now, however, that Peacock started their own network and Paramount started their own network, and they all have their own channels, you might go to Vudu and pay for a movie, and the very next minute after that movie's over, you switch to see what's on Paramount, and there's the movie for free.
Yeah.
So now what I found to do is I will go on, and this is what's great about Vudu. The search function, you go there, or you go on your phone, you pick it up, you put in the name of the movie you want to watch to see where it's available before you go paying for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Letterboxd integrated something like that. Like what's streaming, or I can't remember the name of the site, but there's some site that just like aggregates all the streaming services and tells you where to find a movie.
Well, now it's just simple Google. If you put in there, sick, it'll show you that it's available on Peacock, but it'll also say that's available on Vudu for purchase and Amazon and stuff like that. I don't know if that's the case, but in a lot of movies it is.
We did have a question come up, not in the stream chat, but someone reached out to me before and asked if we had any films we were looking forward to in 2023 or recommendations that we wanted to throw out there that we'd seen recently.
Well, and I don't mean to tell people to get another streaming channel, but if you don't have this, you can get a trial for 7 days. Wait till the series is at the end. But Servant is absolutely phenomenal. It's on Apple TV.
Okay, I don't have that one.
Huh?
I don't have that one. That's like one of two I don't have. So
Well, if you wait until because this is the final season. It's been 3 seasons. I think this 3rd season's the final. Wait until it's over. Get the trial and binge it, because they only do like 7 or 8 episodes a season, and they're only 30 minutes each. So you could basically binge watch this in the 7-day trial if they have it. Not try and take money away from Apple, but God knows I've spent enough money with Apple.
Yeah.
iPhone, Mac Mini, MacBook Pro. All right, I could go on listing, but
they're going to be fine.
It's people pay a lot for it, and but yeah, Servant is an outstanding series. As far as movies coming out this year, I don't know what I've seen advertised. If I had this question beforehand, I would have given it some thought, because there have been some things that I know that are coming out that I'm looking forward to in 2023.
I'm looking forward to Renfield.
Oh, yeah. See, that is one. I saw how about that Nick Cage?
I love him.
Can I tell you, you know how, I don't mean this to sound stuck up, but you know how I hired a driver to drive me to FrankenCon?
Yeah.
Well, Mike is the biggest. I don't like driving as much as I did when I was younger. And it's not because I'm a bad driver or I have any health concerns, but like if I'm going to an event where there might be alcohol, I don't want to, like I would used to get pre-COVID, I would go to stuff up in Manhattan. And that's a 2-hour, 15-minute drive from here. Philly's an hour, but that's the big cities closest to us. Atlantic City's a dump. That's that's 10 miles away, but who goes there? But anyway, all right, that's a joke, Mayor. I'm just, in case the mayor's watching, I want him to know. But Mike is the biggest Nick Cage fan. And in my car, if you saw in the Haunted Highway, it's like I have cameras in my car. Well, in reality, in my car, I have a tablet about that big compared to this, mounted to my dashboard, that actually, when I turn it on, it watches all the cameras in the house. I can, as I'm driving, I can look and see if someone's in the driveway. I'm telling you, don't ever attempt to come break into this house. Pick an easier target, but no, I got the cameras up there. And that was from back when my mother was alive. I could keep an eye on the home health aides and her in the house, just make sure everything was fine. Sure. And so I've just always kept that. Well, also, though, the good thing about that is when we're like up there, I would go to an event and I'd have to go inside for an hour or 2 or 3. Mike could watch HBO Max, well, it was Go back then or whatever, Netflix, Amazon, and could sit in the car. So one day I come out of this event in New York and I'm ready to come home. He says, do you have anything to do for 20 minutes? There's only 20 minutes left in this movie. It was a Nick Cage film he was watching. So I said, all right, I'll go back in for 20 minutes. And so I go back in. But ever since then, I start saving to my list any Nick Cage films, because when he is sitting in the car and I'm someplace, he can watch a Nick Cage film. But yeah, I saw the ad for Renfield. Rayfield.
Renfield, like knock Renfield from the Dracula novel. Yeah.
Right. That is that Nicholas Hoult, right?
Yeah.
And Nick Cage. And Nicholas Hoult, by the way, did you see The Menu on HBO?
I haven't watched the movie yet. I started it and I haven't finished it yet.
Well, Holly and I did a review on that on our show. We did that and second look with Mel Gibson in it. And I was I didn't know how I felt about watching Mel Gibson film, because not that I'm a cancel culture type guy, but sure, he was pretty much of a not friendly person for a couple years, but he seems to have reinvented himself, and that film was good. But yeah, I watched I watched that, but I'm looking forward to Renfield. And did you notice in the trailer, they really didn't reveal who Dracula was until about 3/4 of the way through the trailer.
Oh yeah, and it was like the trailer where he's sitting there with the group therapy and talking about how he's in an abusive relationship with his boss and stuff. I'm like, I'm already in love with this. Like, I knew I was gonna enjoy this movie, but now I'm like fully on board.
Well, you saw Eulogy, the film I did.
Yeah.
The original plan for that. Excuse me for coughing in your ear. The original plan for that was because the vaccine had just come out, and it seemed like, oh, this is the end of COVID and all, it won't be a problem. The original plan for that was going to be that I was in hell at like an AA meeting of circles of former demons and all. And we're all talking like in one of those AA meetings, and they're all mad because they say somehow how I screwed up their lives and all. And at the end of that, I was supposed to come out of hell because Satan got sick of me. He threw me out, but God wanted to take me. So he said, "Now you're not coming here." And they wind up putting me back on earth alive, which was how originally Eulogy was supposed to go. But to do that, I was going to have too many people involved while COVID was still going pretty strong.
Yeah. I think it's one of my favorite sequels in the series, so I liked it a lot. But that does sound awesome.
Yeah. Well, wait until you see what's coming next.
I'm stoked. All right, Nigel, anything else you want to plug before we wrap up?
Just get plugs for my head.
Plugs for Nigel's head.
Plug. I'm not that vain, people. Don't worry. You'll never see, unless it's part of a script, you never see me with a rug on or anything. But I thank you for having me on tonight. Is this the average time? Because I don't talk much.
So far, last week was an hour and 45 minutes.
Try and point to the
There
clock.
it is.
It's over there on me.
Boop, 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 boop.
And, so I did okay.
Yeah, did great.
All right, good. And
I'm
I hope
excited.
my opinions were valid. Those of you that watch Sick will come back and say how valid Nigel, no big deal box opinions were.
Nigel did great, guys. It was a good pick. Go check out badbin.com for more of Nigel's stuff. Get some merch. There's a mug on there. There's some posters, I believe. Shirts are not a thing right now, right?
Well, shirts I took off. The reason I took shirts off was because last year my shirts are printed at a third. They're sent by
Like a
a
print on
company
demand.
gets the order. They're print on demand and sent. And he had boasted on this. Okay, thank you, by the way, Skeltex. Skeltex, you said, is part of the reason I'm coming, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a co-sponsor.
Thank you. I'll meet you there, and I'll thank you in person. But depending on the status of COVID, I might not be giving out hugs.
We'll have a drink or something.
But the T-shirts, he would have advertised that they're coming in. They get shipped in 2 weeks. So last year before Christmas, people were ordering them at like Thanksgiving weekend, and they didn't have them by Christmas Eve.
Oh,
because the guy got back. I told the guy, said, said people aren't going to mind waiting a month for something. They're not going to not buy it. My product they couldn't get somewhere else, so they're not going to buy it at Walmart because it won't be in for 4 days when I can get it from Amazon too. No, that's not the case. It's the only place they could get it. So put 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Give yourself some time. So people were such a pain in the butt about those shirts that this year I turned them off November 30th, and I just haven't turned them back on yet. So,
okay.
But T-shirts will come. I have plenty of posters. The mugs, there's only 4 left. Got some Christmas balls left if you want Christmas in February or January.
I mean, why not? Wherever you find your joy. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and it was a lot of fun, and I can't wait till the next Bad Ben, and you guys need to go check it out.
We are starting in 3 weeks when Scott gets home from his damn, this marriage is getting on my way. Ugh. But thank you, and I can't wait to see everybody down there in June at FrankenCon too. You know, Dustin, I know Dustin.
Oh yeah, Dustin was there too. Dustin says, my first time watching Spooky Dudes, great stuff. Thank you, Dustin. Dustin's a sweetheart of a human being and just super supportive and positive. So always appreciate him giving us a shout out. All right. Well, we will talk again soon, Nigel, and you are welcome to come back on here anytime and chop it up.
Well, I have to
whatever we want to say.
I'll have to fit you in between because I am in demand because I'm a celebrity. So
he was playing with himself on Facebook Live last night. The Bad Ben game.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you cleared that up because I keep getting those threatening emails that say we've hacked your computer. We log in, we look side by side to the porn you're watching, and I'm like, what? But
I logged in and saw you were playing that game, and I specifically scrolled up in the chat and I was like, if no one's made the playing with yourself joke, I'm gonna do it, and I did it. Because I couldn't see anybody making the jokes. I was like, all right.
You know what? I didn't see the comment because I'm playing the game, so I couldn't watch the comments on the side.
But I think you responded to me, but you were just like,
I did,
yeah, Corey, I'm playing a game. And I'm like, I think everybody else figured it out because they're all laughing at it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go.
That's the first time I ever played it. I like when people message me and say, did you know there's a Bad Ben game? But it did, dude. The graphics in it. I looked like I had like a colostomy bag in my stomach. I looked like Hank Hill with a colostomy bag, or like I was wearing a microphone on the back. But no, I had to record the actual audio for that because that is my voice in it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you actually straight up recorded that or if they cannibalized it from the films. But
no, they sent me a list of lines and asked me to read them, and like. The one section where you can hit the F key in the game and it curses.
Yeah.
And because, my movies, I have quite the foul mouth in them. And every time you press that F key, it would say a different curse word. So they showed me the list and they said, we need you to leave a pause in between each one because there's going to be a key people can press to make you randomly curse.
Oh my
So
God.
as I'm sitting there reading this list of words, if you listen to the original audio, I wound up editing it to get that out of there before I even sent them the file.
Yeah.
But you would hear me cracking up because it was just so bizarre to sit there and randomly say a bad word.
That's awesome. I think I'm gonna have to play that game on my Friday night game stream at some point. That's got to be one I play through because it's right up my alley.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and everybody else, thanks for coming by. Thanks for comments, questions, just watching, liking, sharing, and stay spooky, my dudes.
And I put on my new hoodie for you tonight.
It's classy. That's what we do around here. Is it's a class act.
I can tell. Bye.
FrankenCon returns with a sequel to Die For, The Bride of FrankenCon. Witness the resurrection of horror with 2 massive reunions. It's Friday the 13th, Part 6 stars C.J. Graham and Tom Matthews, along with a grindhouse reunion of Henenlotter, Hintonrick, and Mullen, along with the man behind the crow, James O'Barr. Plus cult stars like Carl York from Cannibal Holocaust and Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp. Friday and Saturday, June 9th and 10th at the Hilton Knoxville Airport on 2001 Alcoa Highway, Alcoa, Tennessee, next to McKee Tyson Airport. Tickets on sale now at frankencontn.com.
And that's it, my dudes. Thank you for tuning in to the episode with Nigel Bach. And come on back next week for another episode. Not even sure which one it is, but let us know what you think in the comments below about this video and the new direction of the show. Thanks for checking out and stay spooky, my dudes.